Inks and Issues, a podcast where we do in-depth discussions on a single comic book. I'm your host, Jonah Gregory, and with me, as always, my co-host, Kieran Bennett.
Hi, my name's Kieran, and I'm a collection of edgy teens.
but they're not teens, but they might as well be. And today we're going to be talking about Warren Ellis's Nextwave, Agents of H.A.T.E. And this was the winner of September? Patreon poll?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this was the September Patreon pick, and it will come out in October.
Yes. So patreon.com/inks and issues is where people can recommend and vote for things for us to cover. Or, you know, if you want to give us more money, you can just tell us what to cover. Because, you know, why not?
Money in politics.
Yeah. It's all good. So, before we get into that though, Kieran, how you been?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty good. You know, just reading comics, I was about to say reading work, but that doesn't make any sense.
Interesting.
Reading comics, going to work. Yeah, finally went to my comic book shop the other day.
How big was the stack?
It wasn't actually as big as I was expecting it to be honest. But I think that's because Metal is finished now. So, there's nothing more coming in for that. Yeah. But Aquaman, Sleepless has finally come back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to get to that one because it sounded really cool when you talked about it before.
I'm pretty excited to dig into that latest issue. I've got some Avengers. I think the latest storyline of Domino by Gail Simone is wrapping up in the issue I just picked up. So I'm pretty excited to read that. And also I ended up talking to the guy actually and his wife who both own the comic book shop. We ended up talking about Comicsgate.
Interesting.
And they were like, hey, fuck that noise. We're making a video tomorrow where we tell people if they support it, they can never come to our store again. So I was like, hell yeah, I've picked a good shop.
Yes. Excellent. Opposite experience to your friend Richard, it seems like, where he has had nothing but terrible experiences with comic book shops. Where I'm like, man, how can you keep going to these? I mean, like, not keep going to the same one, but keep finding these terrible ones.
Keep finding them. Yeah, I know. Like, I barely know of any other ones other than the one that I normally go to. So, what are the chances?
Yeah. Get with the program.
Jonah, how have you been?
Oh man, it's been a busy couple weeks. Kids started school, so it's been like September just disappeared on me. Like I turned around and September was gone. It's pretty much how I felt. So, I haven't really had a chance to read much because of that with, other than for the show. I started a novel because I was like, man, I haven't actually had a chance to read like a book, like a non-comic book in quite some time because we've been so busy.
Same.
Yeah. So I actually, I have a huge like backlog now. So, I actually picked up, Annihilation. I don't know if the book's called the same as the movie, but they made a movie based on it. It's like the first part of a trilogy. And I kind of picked it because one, I thought the movie was pretty cool. And from what I've read, the director of the movie said like he read the book once and then purposely didn't like reread it a million times to write it. He kind of wanted it to be like based on, he's like, it's almost like based on a dream where the dream is the book you read once. So that was kind of, so it's like its own take on the same idea, I guess. So that made me more interested to read the book because now I'm like, okay, now I want to see what's different. So I'm not very far into it, but so far it's pretty cool and weird, which is what I was looking for. And also not a very big book, which I know is like, because it's been a bit since I've gotten through some novels, which is a thing I normally try and read a few of a month. I'm like, that's a good starting point. I can get through it relatively quickly and hopefully get back in that routine. Because I feel really bad looking at my giant stack of unread books that I've been buying over the last year and haven't gotten around to yet. I also started the new Spider-Man game for PlayStation 4.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. I forget we can talk about games on this podcast.
I mean, we can talk about, it's our podcast, so we can do whatever we want. I can stay up as late as I want.
Well, in that case, I took a big jump the other day. No.
Oh, I mean, sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's what you need to keep going.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm not very far. Like, I just barely got to play it like one of the nights, and it's really, really cool so far. Like, I'm terrible at the combat, which is very much the combat from the Batman games, like the Arkham City Arkham Asylum games.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like that, the flow of that combat works really well. But of course you have the Spider-Man stuff layered on top of that. So it still has like the different trees, like, you know, your attack, defense, and gadget essentially are like the 3 main combat trees you can put points into. But because it's Spider-Man, the gadgets are like different kinds of web shooter and stuff like that. So you start with your basic one where you have to basically unload the entire clip to like web someone to the wall, but it reloads really fast, and you can use it just to kind of like stun guys while you're fighting other people. But then I unlocked the like high powered one where it only gets 3 shots, but when you hit a guy, it'll like knock him back. So if he's near a wall or something, it just like instantly makes him stick to the wall, which is really cool.
Okay. I've heard a lot of really good, things about it. I think, Richard actually, he bought it. Shout out to Richard Kolpotcher. He bought it, and I think he finished it in like 4 or 5 days or something.
I have been shocked at how many people we know who on Twitter have been like, well, I just platinumed that. And I'm like, but it's only been out for like a week. How did you do that?
Yeah. Now, my question is, I haven't played the game. What button do I press as Spider-Man to lay my spider eggs?
I haven't unlocked that power yet. I know when you're walking through the streets, there is buttons just to interact with people as you walk by, to like shoot the finger guns and like wave. And some people will want to like take selfies and fist bump and stuff. It's pretty good.
That is okay. That's actually really cool. I was making a gross spider joke, but that's actually pretty rad. I like that.
Also, J. Jonah Jameson has basically an InfoWars type podcast that he's constantly screaming about Spider-Man in, that you can listen to as you're swinging around the city. And I guess that was a good way to do it, where you're not going to be able to like stop and read the newspaper while you're swinging around, so you can still get his rantings, which is it's like, it's got a lot of Spider-Man flavor that's really, really well done. So I'm very much enjoying it, even though I'm like nowhere. I think I'm like 10%. No, not even 10%. I think I'm like 7% into the game so far. Let's see. Oh yeah. The other thing that's really cool is, one of the things you'll do is unlock different costumes from different Spider-Man iterations. So, each of those has its own like powers and stuff. But once you've unlocked them, you can like kind of just pick the one you like the look of and use the power of other ones you've unlocked. So I just unlocked the Spider-Man Noir one, which is pretty crazy looking. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's like the kind of steampunky looking one. But there's a bunch of them that are, I mean, they get into some very obscure references, from what I've seen. I think the only one they don't have that they've had in old Spider-Man games, and I could be wrong about this, is the bombastic bagman. And I'm guessing that's because it's a Fantastic Four reference. So that might be why, like, I know old Spider-Man games had that in it as an unlockable, but I have not seen if that one is in here. So I'm sorry.
So what you're saying here is pick up Spider-Man.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is I'm sorry to all the bombastic bagman fans out there that he needs his own spin-off game is what I'm trying to say.
Our downloads have been halved now, thanks to that blunder on your part.
Yeah. So anyway, it's good.
I have been playing, because I like to be really current and up to date on my video games. So I've been playing that classic from 3 years ago, The Witcher 3.
Oh, okay.
Which is, pretty much everybody knows this is a 3-year-old game. It's a really good game. I really, really enjoy it. There's a lot to do. I have no idea what's going on in the story because I haven't played any of the previous 2 games. And it really does assume that you've like played the other games.
Oh,
so it just kind of dumps you in there. And, you know, has like all these characters like showing up and like saying like, Geralt, it's so good to see you again and blah, blah, blah. And, remember when we did that thing and, hey, watch out for the wild hunt and that kind of thing. And it's just like, I don't understand what's happening, but the gameplay is very fun. And I like riding a horse, like stabbing things and like making potions and stuff. So I'm just going to kind of go with it. I think like the selling, I'm not really the selling point, but like one of the biggest like selling points for me would be that, Geralt is actually like really funny and very dry. And cause he's a Witcher and people are just constantly rude to him all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's one of the few things I know about the series is that like everybody hates him, or just Witchers in general Or like
just, yeah, which is in general. They're constantly like calling you like a disgusting mutant and like a freak and a monster. And so Geralt is just like sassy all the time, like to everybody. Mm. And it's fantastic. It's so good to just have the option to just, instead of like, you know, instead of nice or rude, you have like nice, rude, vaguely sassy. And it'll just kind of like evenly backhand someone verbally. And you're just like, do it more, please. it's real good.
Yeah.
So I've been really enjoying playing that one, and I feel like I'm going to be playing it for a very long time because there's a lot to explore and a lot to do. And it has full voice acting, and like a lot of the quests are actually quite interesting to do. So like I don't feel like I'm doing a lot of busy work to like pad out the game. Like it all feels like someone actually sat down and was like, okay, how do I make this kind of interesting and how do I make this satisfying to do? So it is actually like really fun to just kind of go around and like do all the little side quests rather than you just kind of completing them because, you know, you have developed a highly anxious personality and you have to complete things. You actually kind of, you know, you actually want to like complete the quest.
Is that one like open world compared? Like I've played some of 1 and 2, but not very much of either because I could not get very far in either. And I'm like,
yeah, no, it's definitely open world.
Okay, definitely cool. Open world. That did remind me one of the other things that was like the Spider-Man game actually has some pretty funny stuff in it too. Like one of the things is because it's an open world game, it's like there's all these things hidden in the city, go collect them because they always have that. And in this, it's his old backpacks.
Yeah.
And every time you find one, there's something in it, like a memento of something. And one of them, when you find it, he's like, oh, it's that award I got from Oscorp, but because he knew they were like evil. So he's like, but I didn't take the money because I didn't feel right. But I did take that lifetime supply of backpacks, which is why he has like 55 backpacks hidden around the city. So I mean, it already had me hooked, and then that just like closed the deal.
Yeah.
They're like making fun of their own. They even make fun of how the old games had like finding a little kid's balloon that he let go of, and you have to like swing through the air and like find his balloon or whatever. It was some dumb side quest. And one of the things you get in a backpack is a note or like a little drawing from that kid that's like a thank you note. It's very cute.
Cute.
All right, so I guess we should jump into the comic we're talking about this week then, which is Nextwave, Agents of Hate. And Kieran, do you have a synopsis for us?
I do. So this is Nextwave, Volume 1. This is what they want. Excitement, explosions, the highest anti-terrorism effort, or H.A.T.E, a subsidiary of the Beyond Corporation, put Nextwave together to fight bizarre weapons of mass destruction. When Nextwave discovers H.A.T.E and Beyond are terrorist cells themselves, they get rather angry. So they make things explode. Lots of things.
Yes.
That's Nextwave, Agents of H.A.T E. So this was written by Warren Ellis, with pencils by Stuart Immonen, and inks by Wade Van Grawbadger. So Warren Ellis, I think we've talked about him on the show before. Neither of us could possibly remember what the context was, but I'm fairly confident that we have. Written Transmetropolitan, Global Frequency, Red, and Trees, Injection, and he has also written a lot of Astonishing X-Men, Thunderbolt, Moon Knight, Iron Man, dozens and dozens of other things as well. Very, very prolific and well-known writer. And inks were by Stuart Immonen, who's done a lot of work for Marvel on Nextwave, obviously, and also Ultimate X-Men, The New Avengers, and Ultimate Spider-Man. So Nextwave was published from March 2006 to February 2007 and consisted of 2 6-issue story arcs. So we'll be covering number 1 to number 6 today. And the idea originally was that after those kind of 12 issues that Warren Ellis had planned, he was going to pass it off to other writers so that people could keep, kind of having fun with what he had with what he'd made. But I don't know, maybe he felt it was too hard to let go. So it was just cancelled instead after issue 12. And so Warren Ellis himself says that he wanted to take his series The Authority, which was a serious superhero comic book, and strip out all of the plot, logic, character, and sanity. It's an absolute distillation of the superhero genre. No plot lines, characters, emotion, nothing whatsoever. It's people posing in the street for no good reason. It's people getting kicked and then exploding. It is a pure comic book, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. And afterwards, they will explode. So that'll kind of give you an indication of where this book goes.
Yeah. I didn't know going into it that was his plan for this book.
Yeah. Last little fun fact before we get into the breakdown. Fun fact: this book has actually won an award.
Okay, what kind of an award?
It won the Young Adult Library Services Association Award in 2007 for making the top 10 great graphic novels for teens.
Okay,
and Warren Ellis responded by saying, "I do it all for the children."
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Sure. Whatever, Warren. Whatever you say, man.
Yep. All right. So I guess we'll get right into it.
Yep. Let's do it.
So this book opens with two of our heroes sitting at a little coffee shop and chatting. Elsa Bloodstone and the Captain. And they're hanging out in Abscess, North Dakota, because I don't know if that's a real city, but if it is, you might want to consider having an online poll to change your name.
Please do.
And they are basically discussing, why'd you want to become a superhero? And the Captain says, so I could hit people in the face really, really hard and run away and no one would know it was me. That's why he likes wearing masks and beating people up. And his superhero name was Captain A Swear Word, which is represented by all skulls. So
Captain Cuss.
Yeah, so Captain Cuss. And so every time when I was reading this, and this is a very common thing in the dialogue, is to have, anytime there would have been a cuss, it's a bunch of skulls. So,
because cussing will kill you.
Yeah. So I do find it funny that he wasn't allowed to cuss in this book. So, and maybe that was like a joke? Was that the gag?
Beats me.
It's for teens, so you can't cuss.
If it was a joke, it went totally over my head, but
yeah. So that's a very consistently weird thing in the dialogue. And he tells a story about how when he met Captain America and told him what his name was, that he beat 7 shades out of it. He beat 7 shades of it out of me, left me in a dumpster with a bar of soap shoved in my mouth. And this was my first clue that Warren Ellis does not like Captain America and hates writing him, because apparently I did a little research and he wrote some Avengers for a while, and the reviews were basically like, man, Captain America sure is cynical in these comics. And I'm like, aha, this was post me reading this. I'm like, I think Warren Ellis hates Captain America and writes him because money.
Yeah.
So, they're sitting there chatting. We get a little of the backstory of the H.A.T.E organization, which is led by Dirk Anger, who is the director of H.A.T.E, the highest anti-terrorist effort, which you had mentioned. That was what it was called before. And they're flying in their mobile, basically it's their version of the helicarriers.
The helicarrier.
But it's like several rockets that look like submarines strapped together. It's the Aero Marine.
3 submarines.
Basically, it's all just a bunch of parody of S.H.I.E.L.D. is what's happening here. Dirk Anger is very much Nick Fury, except that he's like, I'm just angry all the time, and it's basically him yelling at everyone, and then when he needs to make a call, a giant phone thing comes down on his head, and
that was like one of like 2 moments that I actually laughed.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
And then we are introduced to
just because the phone was so stupid.
Well, yeah, it's a giant phone.
Yeah,
it goes on his head because that's how he makes calls. We're introduced to the Shockwave Rider, which is the like cool futuristic-y ship that the superhero team that we're supposed to be rooting for is on. They do make note at some point that it's bigger on the inside. I don't know where they would have got that from. Written by a British man. It's a mystery. It's one of life's great mysteries.
I could not possibly say.
Yeah. And then we're introduced to Monica, who is I don't even know if she's a mutant or what, but she does have actual superpowers of being able to like turn into different forms of energy. And then Machine Man, who is wanting to go by his like actual name, he's also introduced in this, which is Aaron something or other.
Yeah, something like that. My conversology crashed, so I can't.
Same.
Yeah. Classic. we can just kind of carry on from there. I think just based on what I remember.
It's back. So they find out that that corporation, the Beyond Corporation, is drilling for something underneath this site that they're supposed to be building a mall in. And when they uncover it, it ends up being a giant egg that explodes into Fing Fang Foom. And then there's some really gross dialogue about his mother and how he was conceived, and about his level of horniness, and that he's wearing.
And he doesn't have any genitals,
and that he wears purple shorts, and then all of the heroes have to come together to stop him. And there's a bunch of fighting and punching, and they are also attacked by what are like the human resources division of the Beyond Corporation, which are like robot looking dudes, but inside are broccoli men. They're like grown in a field, we find out later. And so it's a lot of, as you had mentioned before, there's not going to be a lot of like, hey, this crazy plot thing happened in this episode, because suffice it to say, it's mostly just people punching each other over and over again and quipping.
And there's actually a flashback where one of the characters kills a dog. So this is canonically a JoJo.
Yes. Well, at least she's a JoJo, right?
She is a JoJo, yeah.
Yeah. And they all kind of get together and fly over to see Fing Fang Foom, and they say, oh my god, it's wearing underpants. And that is the end of the first issue, is them kind of coming together and flying over to start fighting Fing Fang Foom. So what was your initial reaction to this book? Leave in the pause when you edit that, Logan.
Okay, I want to be like really upfront here. I love all of our patrons, and I love their interactions with us and how they suggest things. And I love comics as a medium, and I think that comics are great, but
don't spoil your final thoughts in the first issue.
Okay, my thoughts on the first issue. I did appreciate how like it was very pacey. It is a very pacey first issue. You know, it doesn't waste a lot of time in setting up like the main kind of conceit of the book, that you have a superhero team that are working for a corporation. The corporation is evil. I think that Dirk Anger was that one else?
Something like that.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. Not Nick Fury.
Yes.
Not Nick Fury. I thought in this issue, and then the couple issues after is kind of amusing, like as a parody of Nick Fury. But some of the dialogue is really bad, and like the art is fine. But I mean, yeah, and then when Fing Fan Foom shows up, and there's just like a bunch of weird like talk about his mother and how he doesn't have any genitals, like I just was like, okay, whatever, like I don't care about this. It was at this point I was like, okay, there has to be something really friggin' awesome in the second issue for me to like come back on board. Because I was pretty disconnected at this point. What about yourself?
Very similar. I didn't crack a smile even once. And you know me, I do like funny things.
Jonah does like to laugh. I will say that about him.
I'm very like kind of low key, I think. And I don't know. I think it's some people before they get to know me might think that I have no sense of humor because of having kind of a monotone voice and stuff, but it turns out I actually like to tell jokes. And like,
Jonah knows what jokes are, which is very impressive.
And I was kind of shocked, honestly, about how bad this is. With how famous Warren Ellis is as like a satirist, and I was just like, wow, this is the guy. Like, okay. So I guess let's get into issue 2 before I say too much.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a little discussion on how humans are the perfect snack food. And then, Tabby Smith, who can like make things blow up, she starts fighting Fing Fang Foom. For some reason, he's going to put her in his pants. I don't understand why. And so the captain flies down and breaks Fing Fang Foom's
Can I just stop
hand.
you right there and say that
sure,
if I had been even kind of on board from issue 1, which I wasn't, that would have totally been like the turn off right there. Like
where he's about to put a girl into his pants.
Yep. I would have been like, yeah, I'm out. If we weren't reviewing this for Patreon, or like, because our Patreon people are awesome and we love them and they suggested this book for us, I would have like been very upset and stopped reading this book. So continue.
Yeah, no, it was, we'll get to the end of the issue first. So the captain breaks Fing Fang Foom's hand. They get thrown into a building, and then we have like a little cutaway to Derek Anger, who's like basically having like a nervous breakdown about how he can't capture the Nextwave. And then we have our team leader, whatever her name is.
Monica.
I have no idea. Monica, thank you. So Monica basically flies out, and she can turn to like different kinds of radiation.
That's actually a cool power, though.
It was a cool power. Like I kind of liked it.
She's like,
it was weird.
Yeah, I can turn into anything except for the kind they make up on Star Trek, which I'm like, that was almost a good line, but it was really clunky. I'm like, It was so close. One more pass, Warren. Come on.
So she turns into a laser, but bounces off the impenetrable skin of Fing Fang Foom. So they regroup on a rooftop, and there's some gross dialogue between them because I don't know, they're all just horrible people. And so what they do is they shoot Fing Fang Foom in the eyes, and then the robot guy jumps inside Fing Fang Foom, while the rest of them fight the human resources department. And then the robot basically starts like cutting up Fing Fang Foom from the inside. And Fing Fang Foom then basically vomits out like an organ of some kind, and he starts crying as he's dying, which is like, it was so uncomfortable. Like I was just like, yeah, and so he dies, and then the robot man crawls out of Fing Fang Foom's pants, and they are basically like, we have more monsters to fight, let's go, and they blast off. And that is the end of issue 2.
Yep. That sure happened. It
sure did.
It's his heart that he vomits up, because the joke is he says that he has a broken heart, and then he dies. So he dies of a broken heart.
It was just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm overly empathetic. I just felt bad for him. Like I was just like, this is just like, man, it was like, honestly, it was surprising how like terrible the second issue was, especially considering the like relatively low standards set by issue 1. Right.
And one of the things that's kind of I noticed like a running thing in these first 2 is Nick Danger Dad, whatever the hell that guy's name was. He keeps going on about how he like hates young people and that he only looks young because he is given like a special serum, and they basically show them Rokuing like a bunch of baby chicks and like using an IV to like put in him. That's actually the secret sauce that keeps him young.
Oh yeah, I just saw that now.
Which I guess is just making fun of like the ridiculousness of like super soldier serum and stuff like that. So,
oh yeah, wow, that's gosh, that's very tasteless, isn't it? Yeah, geez. Anyway,
when did this come out again? 2007?
God, fuck, like who knows? 2007. Yeah, 2007.
Okay. I'm trying to keep when it came out in mind.
Yeah. So let's go into issue 3.
Issue 3 is about a cop or police officer or pig, depending on who you ask, who is about to retire. He's 1 week from retirement. He's talking to one of his, cop buddies, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to spend the rest of my life rotting in a lounger. It's going to be awesome. So you're like, oh, it's like this old dude who is going to get murdered because, it's 1 week from retirement. But
1 week from retirement.
Yeah. But and as he's walking home or out onto his beat, he sees a drug deal going down. And you think he's going to bust this other cop. But he actually hits him in the face with a baton and is like, I want my cut. And then this other guy walks up to him or runs up to him and is like, I can barely see. I've been mugged and they stole my wallet, but not my billfold. So that was weird. He's like, oh, you still got your billfold, huh? Come into this dark alley with me so I can beat you up with my nightstick and take your money. And then he goes to, I guess, some sort of house of ill repute and ends up getting in a fight with the bouncer type guy there and beats him up and talking about his cut again. And then hears a weird noise in an alley and investigates, and it is a cat looking monster, which opens up, its face opens up to, like, very much in the same vein as like the Stranger Things monster, except inside is a bunch of like weird robotic needles, and it jumps into his chest. And then we get to see that God, what is that dude's name?
Dirk Anger?
Dirk Anger, Danger, as we all like to call him, is sitting
Danger
on
Dad.
top of a giant revolver that has like a chair and a lever, and it's pointed back at his own face, and he pulls the trigger, or I don't even know. Like, I don't get, it's like he's showing, oh, I hate my life, and he's doing this weird, elaborate thing to play Russian roulette with himself. Like, I don't understand what is happening in this scene at all. Like, the visual is kind of funny in like a weird Looney Tunes, something ridiculous for no reason kind of way.
Yes. This was like, so the giant phone on his head as he's like communicating, that made me kind of like laugh a little tiny bit. Him sitting on top of a giant gun also made me laugh a little tiny bit. These were the only points that I laughed in the entire time I was reading this.
Okay, fair. Back to the hero, in quotes, character that can blow things up. Is that who we're following now, or is this?
I think so. Yeah, okay. yeah.
So she's walking along on the phone and sees the policeman, who is now eating a car and is also much larger than he was previously. And when he sees her, he throws the car, and she does her tick, tick, boom, which is her famous quote that we all know and love. I've got it tattooed on my ass. I mean, just like the things, it's clobbering time. Spider-Man's, go web go. Batman's like, I'm gonna batter in your face. My parents are dead. All those famous quotes that everyone knows. And then there's a terrible Faster Pussycat Kill reference. And she fights a bunch more robots. It's basically, once action starts in this comic, to its credit, the action does just go nuts. So that is one thing in its favor for sure, is like, once the action starts, it's always just a ridiculous amount of action over and over again. So it's like, there's a car chase, there's explosions, there's them trying to fight this like cyber cop guy who is now like obviously possessed by whatever that weird creature was that like jumped inside his chest. And then he gets thrown like into a junkyard. And when he comes out, he's like starting to kind of more turn into a robot than he was previously.
I will say, sorry, I did almost crack a smile because they end up at a school. And the name of the school is Sink City Very Small School with Lovely Children Inside. I almost cracked a slight smile at that.
Same. I was so close.
But just, everything prior to that was just like so like whatever.
Can we just reiterate how much we don't like hating on things?
Yeah, like I feel bad for like dunking on this, but also, it's 2018. I got a lot of stress built up. So,
it's true. I don't have time.
Take it.
Sometimes I don't have time for your shenanigans anymore, Warren.
We're on first name basis because we're so annoyed.
All right. Why don't we just keep going then? Because I think we're going to have a lot more to discuss at the end of this, since there's not there's not to his own admission. There's not there's not plot. Like
no, it is action set pieces. I will say I'll say to the end. It's fine. Okay. Let's just keep going. So basically they throw the robot police officer into a junkyard. Mac Mangle. They throw him into a junkyard. And we have like a brief little flashback where we see how the captain got his powers from two aliens who are obviously meant to be parodies of the Guardians of the Guardians of Oa, not the Guardians of the Galaxy, but the ones from Green Lantern. So they give him this like magic star, and then he beats them up and throws up on them. So, what a crazy, funny character that is. And in the meantime, the police officer has turned into a giant police officer robot, complete with a little handgun at his side, and he shoots the captain out of his gun into the sewers with a giant bullet on top of him, which then blows up. And so they basically they do battle with the robot, and the Tick Tick Boom girl basically just like blows up all his like joints, and the police officer falls out along with the weird sort of cat-like creature that was causing all this havoc, and she blows up the cat thing as well. And they start beating up the police officer until what was her name, Monica? She shows up because she used to be in the Avengers, and she's like, don't beat up the police officer, get away from him. And she's like, are you all right? And then everyone from the start of the comic who the police officer was menacing shows up, and she's like, oh, well, I'll leave you with your friends now. And they kind of drag him away. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the issue.
Gets his comeuppance.
He gets his comeuppance, yep.
From all the people he's wronged, who are all terrible people too.
Yep.
So we'll get into the next one, number 5. I want to just kind of roll along, and then we can talk about it, because like you said, there's so much action that it's kind of hard to stop. And it was a very quick read. I have to give it that for sure. So back in the Aero Marine, which is the one that Dirk Anger is on, he's puking his guts out. Because he's purging. It looks like he ate a bunch of candy or something. There's like a bunch of wrappers on the ground, and now he's barfing them up. It's very much trying to set up that he's like this incredibly depressed person. And there's nothing funnier than depression.
Oh fuck.
And
those are my final thoughts. I'm just recording them in advance. Logan, just put them in at the end.
Meanwhile, our heroes find the area where the human resources robot broccoli dudes are grown. So they decide to destroy them, which will save them from, having to fight as many of them later. At first, even one of them is like, oh, I don't know if we should kill them because they're like living beings. And they're like, oh, well, that's just going to come back to bite us. The more of them we kill now, then the less of them we'll have to kill later. And the Machine Man, who is in their group but doesn't like to be called that anymore, Aaron Stack, he's like, hey, I'm awesome. I used to travel with the Celestials because I'm so awesome. Although he says cussing great because it's skulls. If you forgot about the skulls, they're back. And we get to see Machine Man as Machine Man talking to the Celestials, who I only really was familiar with because of Galactus stuff, the Thanos, like Infinity War stuff back in the day. And also when I used to collect the trading cards, I had them, and I'm like, man, these guys are off the charts on every stat. Who are they? Because I had never read anything with them in it at the time. So I actually recognized these guys. And basically the whole gag is them just being like, hey, you suck. And then they do like, she was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. That was actually inspired by this panel where one of the Celestials does that to Machine Man.
It was. Yeah, little known fact, Smash Mouth actually traveled into the future, picked up this comic, took it back to the 90s, read it, and were like, fuck, this is actually making a basis for a really good song.
Yeah.
And, the world laughed, but, I mean, look at where Smash Mouth are now, on the cutting edge of music.
I mean, yeah, they're very punk rock. They actually do have, to their credit, some very progressive politics. So I'm not going to dunk on Smash Mouth too hard.
Oh, no. I'm not dunking on Smash Mouth. I'm dunking on All Star, which, is a great song. But it is still kind of bad.
Its greatness is how bad it is, but also amazing. So we get some more action, and they just keep turning up the ridiculous factor. They drop some drop bears, which I don't know why that was like a thing, like that was like a gag for a long time, like a whole drop bear thing. It was like,
I don't know.
That era, I remember hearing that joke a lot, and I'm like, it's
an internet joke, popular with the teens.
Yeah, and then a bunch of the henchmen get in pterodactyl suits and are flying around, and because they all have like crazy superpowers, they have these like trans-dimensional bullet things that can even shoot photons. They call it Schrodinger's death because the bullets are like existing in like various dimensional things. So the guy,
I'm currently tearing my eyes from my sockets.
If you could see, if we were streaming, if you unlock the streaming tier, you can see how angry and upset Kieran is right now.
And also don't forget, we also get a panel of Captain America telling Monica to cover her eyes, go back to the Avengers Mansion, and make his dinner, which was very necessary.
Yes,
and definitely needed to be there.
Okay, so I had mentioned earlier how Warren Ellis hates Captain America, clearly.
Yes.
And this panel, this is where I went from like, this is whatever to, okay, now I'm actively angry at this comic book because Captain America is a good character, and anytime he's depicted as a jerk, that's always on the writer, like being like ignorant of how good that character is. So
yes. Every time.
Like every time. Like even as a joke, I'm just nope.
This isn't a parody of Captain America. It's just a shitty one-liner in a Captain America suit. Like it's not a funny parody of Captain America. It's just it's very bad. I really, really was upset by this panel. Like it made me actively angry. So, because I've gone from like Captain America's whatever guy to nowadays I'm just like, he's one of the best characters Marvel ever has ever come up with. And basically the panel where Captain America has the big speech about like, when they tell you to move, you tell them no, you move, like that embodies everything that is Captain America. And I don't know, like the only way you can make a joke with Captain America is kind of what they do in the movies and have done in the comics, where it's just his like ignorance of like the modern world. Like that's jokes that work with him. So. Yeah. It's like you can make a parody of Captain America by taking like his good traits and you ratchet them up to 1,000. Like,
yes.
And then he's still the character and it's still kind of funny. But when you just turn him this other way, like it's just like, well,
this isn't even that character anymore.
This is, like you just don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just keep going. We're almost at the end.
We're close, but my comicsology is, it's fine. It's actually running perfect. So the next thing that made me go, okay, why is this a thing? So like, the captain, not Captain America, Captain Cuss.
Yes.
He has a flashback. He says how much he hates bears and has a flashback to his mom having hung his bear named Special Bear. And that's it. There's no context.
There is no context. It's just
no gag. It's just a thing to traumatize a child.
Again, unlock the streaming and you'll see my face. That is just like, I'm screaming silently.
Yeah. And then there's some like techno samurais. And then we get a flashback to Cable also being an asshole and being like, "You're my ex-bait. Help me lift my gun. A techno-organic prolapse imminent."
Just like, oh my God.
And again, okay, I'm going to say a cuss right now, so be prepared. Ariel, I apologize in advance. Fuck off with this shit. All right, let's move on. Like, I don't even have a soft spot for Cable, but this is horrible.
Okay. So, Monica, so a bunch of them get blown up. Monica gets shot. The Danger Dad is like, first blood, and he's going crazy. And then that rolls us into the 6th issue. We get a whole bunch of action of, I will admit, 2 women cutting the shit out of a bunch of robot samurai, which was kind of cool.
The action is fine. Like, that's the one thing that I could see why some teens probably liked it.
Yeah, the action is fine. Monica then gets really pissed off and just starts like, she's like, screw non-lethal. I don't care anymore. Ba-boom, and just starts like killing all the pterodactyls. And then, Dirk Anger,
has a mental breakdown in front of all of his men. Yeah.
About like his ex-wife or something. And like it's not funny.
Right.
At all. Like he's talking about like how his wife like won't do sexual things for him anymore because he's taking all these like weird drugs, and that she adopted all these children. And it's just like, it's just, oh my God. Anyway, so Monica then slashes a laser into the ship. The captain blasts into the ship as well with his super strength. They kill more robot samurai. And then the Mr. Robot, whatever the hell, it's a TV show. Robot Man
Machine
is like
Man?
my brain. Machine Man.
He's a real character. This is just a bad iteration of him.
Yeah, okay. Machine Man, sorry. Machine Man's like, my robot brain is superior. It's not cussing at all.
Oh, yeah, and he's a dick to everyone in this as well.
Yeah,
also.
like just relentlessly. And so he jumps into the ship to enact out some plan. Monica's bathing the place in radiation. They release homicide crabs that have like rockets and guns and stuff.
So random.
And then it's so funny. And then it turns out that Machine Man's big plan was to steal a dress. And he's like, if you don't call off your people, I'm going to burn this dress. And then they all get down. They're like, yep, we did it. And then they all start beating up Machine Man, which honestly, like, I can get behind that. And the last panel is basically Dirk Anger just dressed in, wearing the floral dress, saying, it's all right, mother, it's all right. And that's just the end of it. And final thoughts?
We haven't reviewed anything so far that I've hated as much as I've hated this book. That includes when we've threatened to review Wanted.
Yeah.
I don't think I hated Wanted as much as I hated this book. There's nothing worse than an unfunny comedy. So,
oh my gosh,
it's like grueling. It's relentlessly bad. Like there was not a time in this entire book that I even smiled at any of the jokes. Everything seems to be a version of something that's done better elsewhere or parodied better elsewhere. The characterization is total garbage of any character that's like an actual known entity in the Marvel universe. And I have seen other writers do funny versions of like a lot of Marvel characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very well. Like read Squirrel Girl, and it is one of the funniest comics I have ever read and uses a lot of the humor. Like Squirrel Girl is their funniest comic because it's written by like an actual comedy writer. And it's like I don't even find like most of the Deadpool stuff particularly funny. Like I don't think anything I've ever read of Deadpool even holds a candle to that. To like Squirrel Girl's level of humor, which I'm sure is going to piss people off that I said that, but fight me. Like it's a better written comic. Go read it if you don't believe me.
Yeah. This is like, okay. So we reviewed One More Day, which is bad. Like, it's probably one of the worst things I've ever read. It's very poorly put together.
Yeah.
But there is at least with One More Day, I can understand the intention behind that story. I can, as poorly executed as the entire thing is, I get what they're trying to do with One More Day. There is a through line that makes sense somewhat in One More Day.
Within its own logic.
Yeah, within its own logic, there is, it did like, just regarding the fact that they
it's not good.
Fuck up the characters.
You're not,
don't
get us wrong.
yeah. I'm not revising my opinion here. Don't get me wrong. It is bad, but there is a certain sense to be made from it. This is illogically horrible. And like, it's, as you said, there is nothing worse than something that is trying so hard to be funny and isn't.
I messaged you one page into this and was like, oh no, Oh, no.
Yeah. As soon as you messaged me like one word balloon, and I was just like, fuck, I know exactly what this is going to be. Like this, oh my God. Like, I'm actually like, I feel like I'm getting warm just talking about this because like, this
I just took my sweatshirt off. Did you see that?
I saw that. Yeah. Like I'm about to fucking get down to skins at the moment. And like, oh my, it's not funny because it's just like, it's this idea of humor that is like, I mean, maybe it's a 2007 thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I was a fucking piss bag 10 years ago, but like, this is just this idea, like a quote unquote idea of humor that existed like in the internet and in like people's basements. And it's like, it's not funny to be sexist, transphobic, rude, and unpleasant and talk about genitals all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, genitals are hilarious, but like, oh my God. None of the jokes in this are funny.
Yeah. I hadn't even brought up what you just did, the like level of sexism and misogyny.
It's wild.
And transphobia that's played for laughs, where I'm just like, oh my God. Like,
yeah,
this was unacceptable 10 or 11 years ago whenever this was published. This is, how did this win a teen award? Like, I would never recommend this to a teenager. No. If I ever had recommended this to somebody in the past, I would be embarrassed. Like,
yeah, like I would be like, I'm so sorry that I made you read that. Like, why did I do this?
We love our patrons, and I'm so sorry if you if this humor is subjective. Okay.
Yeah.
If you find this funny, that's fine. I also don't find South Park funny or Family Guy funny or some other shows that are the most popular shows that have probably ever existed.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I do have to say my style of humor is probably not the norm.
I would echo that statement as well.
Yeah.
But also I'm going to say, irrespective of, the humor in this, it's badly written as well.
Oh, incredibly badly written.
Like and you know, I know that if I were to be like Warren Ellis to my house and he just appeared next to me and I was like, explain this, he would be like, oh, it's meant to be a parody of superhero comics. It's meant to take the piss out of superhero comics. And I'm like, well, you did a bad job of that as well.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many better ways that he could have done this.
Well,
like,
he did say in that quote, like, it's like boiled down to the like basics of comics. And I'm like, this is actually this is boiled down to everything wrong with comics.
And
everything perceived to be like when people are like, oh, you read comic books? Ugh.
Yeah. Like, this is the kind of garbage that they're thinking of.
And also when he said, fight me if you don't agree with him. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I will fucking fight you.
I'll fight you. I mean, like, I might get punched in the face and go down in one hit. I hadn't been in a fight since I was like 7, but whatever. It's like,
I've never been in a fight. I haven't had sex in 9 months. I'm ready to fucking go.
I mean, I'm not ashamed to get punched in the face by Warren Ellis for my beliefs that this comic is absolute utter garbage.
Oh my God, it's so bad. Yeah. Okay, so my final recommendation would be, never read this. Also, you know what really cheeses me off? You know what really grinds my gears?
What's up?
It was $11. It was $11 goddamn dollars. That's
Marvel tax right there.
That's like 20 New Zealand dollars. I spent $20 on this. Whew.
Patreon.com/InkCity.
Yeah. Help me recoup some of my costs for having to buy this. I'm so sorry if you recommended this and it's like one of your favorite things and you wanted us to like revel in the, you know, the over the top insanity of the action and how like wacky and crazy it is. But I'm really sorry. I fucking hated this. I did not like it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I can tell by how upset you are. Now, I know a lot of people's favorite writer for comics is Warren Ellis. I would ask you to really dig deep and really think about why that is and really evaluate, like, is this guy actually a really good satirist or did I just start reading him when I was 15? And I'm not saying that to make fun of anybody. I'm serious. Like, if this is a representation of his work, I would never, ever, ever pick up another one of his books. And I have not read a lot of his famous stuff, but everything that anyone has ever described to me about it, I've been like, No, that doesn't sound appealing to me in the slightest.
Yeah, I have to be really honest. This is the first Warren Ellis I've ever read. I have no desire to read any of his other work.
Yeah.
But
do you have a recommendation for something good so we can leave people on a positive note?
Do I have a recommendation for something good?
Something for the teens.
Something for the teens. Well, I mean, hey, if you're a teen and you want to get into comics, Lumberjanes is really good. We covered that a while ago. That was an excellent one. Amulet is it's not like an indie comic. I think it's like from like First Press or something like that. That's a pretty cool like fantasy comic as well. I mean, there's like a gazillion great Batman stories out there that I could recommend. Ultimate Spider-Man, only volume 1. That's pretty good. Everything else past that, trash. If you're looking for Spider-Man. Naruto is good. Always got to preach that good word. Yeah, no, it's, I mean, it's, I was talking to my local comic book shop owner about this the other day. It's like, if this is what you like, that's fine. But if this doesn't appeal to you at all, or you read it and you dislike it as much as I do, don't despair for comics, because there's so many other comics out there. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of comics out there, and there is always something for everybody out there.
Yes, I agree. Also, if you want a really good teen comic, honestly, look at any like non-traditional cis white straight guy writing comics. Like the best teen comics right now are almost all being written by like queer creators, because they've actually, lived these different experiences than a lot of other people have, and have interesting perspectives and that are fresh and tell really cool and deep stories that you haven't seen before. Like you'd mentioned Lumberjanes, The Witch Boy. I've heard nothing but good things about. I actually have that in my pile of stuff to read that I would have read before, but we had some stuff to get through for the show. So it's like right on the top of my stack right now, because I've been itching to get to that.
Hellcat is really good as well.
Hellcat's very good.
I really enjoyed that.
And I was trying to remember the name of another one that we had read. I think it's Princess is another really good one. There's at least one volume out. I don't know if there's more, but it's basically about there's a princess who's like kind of a crybaby that needs rescuing, and then there's another princess who is like, I don't want to just sit around, I want to be a warrior. And they come across the prince who's like, hey, I don't want to be a warrior. Like, I'm kind of a scaredy cat, but I'm a good person and I want to help rule the kingdom, like, and help people out. So they kind of all team up to save the day. And it's really cool. And a very different and very inspired by Utina, if that helps sweeten the pot. So that's a really good one. Yeah. My daughter has actually been reading that, and she's really, actually, she just finished it and really enjoyed it. And she's only
Princess, I assume, and not Utina.
No, not Utina. She's not quite there.
And my son's just finished Evangelion.
Yes. Oh man, that's going to be a conversation. Anyway, but yes, so that's my recommendation to you, is seek out these other creators, and I think you will be much, much better off. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So, Kieran, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Oh, man, listen, if you want to fight me on the net, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Mr. K_Bennett. I'll give you other comic recommendations as well. And you can also find my Dungeons and Dragons podcast. That's for Crits and Giggles, which is at for CNG podcast on Twitter. So yeah, go check those out. Plus, Jonah, where can people find you on the net?
You can fight me on Twitter. I'm at Spambot. If you are mad at me for not liking Warren Ellis, I mean, go ahead and scream at me, and I guess I'll just mute or block you, because whatever. It's Twitter. I do whatever I want on there.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you can follow the show at Inks and Issues, and we post when the episodes go live, when Patreon stuff goes live, voting, all that fun stuff. And when we have like recommendations or find deals, we always try and link those over on the main account. You can support the show at patreon.com/inksandissues, and that would be a huge help, because we're trying to hit the first goal of covering our costs of running the show, so that we can, pay for hosting, editing, all that good stuff. So I know podcasts seem like they're free because we try and pass them on to you for $0, but they do cost us money. So it'd be awesome to get a little bit of support. Helps out a lot. And you get stuff like, the episodes early. We do bonus episodes. There's even been a few lately that have had like bonus content for those episodes. So you get like a special version that's just for you and other patrons that has us talking about the coolest stuff.
Like JoJo's. I will say that I just want to say that I very wholeheartedly appreciate every single person who has decided to give us money. Every single dollar helps.
Yes.
And you are all wonderful, beautiful human beings. And thank you very, very, very much for all the support that you've given us. We really appreciate it.
I agree.
I felt like I should have been nice after like 20 minutes of just unrestricted vitriol.
Yeah. But yeah, people, if you were curious what happens if we really don't like a comic, now you know. Yep. It doesn't happen often. But
nope, really doesn't.
But we're 45 episodes in, so it had to happen at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, with that, we will see you all next time. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye. I love you.
Whew. That was a spicy episode. I am now probably recording. Yes, I am.
Jonah isn't recording.
I'm recording. I see a waveform. I wanted a fresh
I'm calling him out on the net.
Sorry, Logan. That was just to fuck with
you. 1, 2. I think that might have been kind of a soft clap for me because my sleeves got in the way.
Well,
no, it's fine. There's still a spike there.
Oh. What is it, spring over there now? Your backwards weather?
Yeah, it's spring. It's spring. But I don't know, it's kind of cold. I think it's kind of cold today.
What's the temperature? Like 20 degrees Celsius? Like, what is that
Something
even?
like that.
What is that, like 70? I mean, come on. I don't know the conversions, so.
It's 17 degrees right now.
Okay.
I
was actually close, which I was.
62.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice and chilly. Like, not too cold, but you can wear a sweater.
Yes.
That's kind of how it's been here. We're officially in fall. So I've busted out my sweaters. I got I wear hoodies all the time, but I'm really digging this new one. Mostly because the back is amazing. I don't know if you can see it, but.
Oh, yeah, they might be giants.
Yeah.
But I think I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, the Planet of the Apes, except it's the ape as the statue. It's one of their old tour shirts, but they had it on, they had like a bunch of old stuff like clearanced out. So this hoodie that, band hoodies are usually pretty expensive. I think I got it for like $15 or something. And it's very comfortable. But they did, one of their tours, they played a bunch of improv songs that were based on the Planet of the Apes movie titles. Oh, Brittany's calling me. Hold on, since we haven't actually started yet. Hello? How are you?
Jonah's muted his mic, so it's just you and me now, Logan, and listeners. What's going on with you? Probably a bit of a delayed conversation, but tweet at me. Let me know what's going on with your life. I hope you're good. You're healthy. Oh, that's my phone vibrating. Don't worry, guys. There's a sale on light bulbs that I can get online. So if anyone wants a light bulb, hit me up. You know what I mean? When somebody tags you in something on Facebook and they're like, look at this. You just don't really have anything to say to it other than like, yeah, I just like that, because you just can't summon the energy to really just give a shit about it. You know what I mean? Logan, cut that out. That's very depressing.
What are you talking about?
I was just talking shit.
I could kind of hear that, but I only had one earpiece in. So I was distracted. How many fun facts you got about this comic?
I mean, it exists.
Yeah. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, I will. I mean, like, what are the chances? Okay, what are the chances that you and I are ever going to be close friends with Warren Ellis?
Pretty good, because he's known for being like a really friendly dude and loves his fans, I assume. Quotes. You're miserable, edgy, and tired. You're in the perfect mood for journalism. If you believe that your thoughts originate inside your brain, do you also believe that television shows are made inside your television set? Journalism is a gun. It's only got one bullet in it, but if you aim right, that's all you need. Aim it right, and you can blow a kneecap off the world. I'm guessing those are all from Transmetropolitan, because that's about a reporter.
I would assume so.
But those all popped up in his little sidebar thing.
Okay, well, that's cool. In that case, I am going to, like, read out some quotes that he said about making this comic and then proceed to dunk upon him.
That is totally legit.
Okay. Well, I think I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're ready to go too.
You cheeky ass motherfucker.
Okay, I'll intro us then. Let me take a sip of water. All right. Welcome, friends, to Inks and Issues. I'm going to do that over because I don't have my script in front of me. What?
This is our, like, 50th episode or something.
I always read from a script. I'm trying to break away from that.